you know what I like when I'm talking about feminism? It's a bunch of bearded journos going on about what it is, bearded American journos talking about what British women are doing. How dare they? How very dare they have their own interests? Here we have a controversial conversation that a screenshot of which went viral between a Vox journo, a New York Times journo, the quote conservative journo, the New York Times. When he mentioned it himself in a subsequent tweet, he's like, "I'm the conservative," at the New York Times. Is that right? I believe it. The one. And a City Journal journo. And they're trying to understand. Zach is the Vox journo. He says, "I'm continually perplexed by the Anglophone divergence on transphobia. Why is there so much more TERF representation in the UK elite than their US and Canadian peers?" And Ross replies with, "The answer is Mumsnet, I believe." Yeah, as if the UK elite are all on Mumsnet.
Yeah, no.
It's J.K. Rowling, all the conservatives, they're all on Mumsnet.
To be honest, personally, I think it's because of the suffrage movement and the coherence we've had with the feminist movement here, as in the people.
Yeah.
And therefore, they've actually been able to form a sort of union against this trans stuff.
Sure, but I also put it down to the natural empiricist tendencies of the English, to be honest.
That's also true, but he is saying among the Anglosphere. So.
Yeah, but no, he's talking about the divergence in the Anglosphere. So in the UK, the TERFs are a very strong force, whereas in America and Canada, they're not. And I put it to the fact that England has just always been extremely empiricist, frankly. And this is represented in a lot of different ways, but I think primarily in the modern age, it's the TERFs saying, well, look, there's a biological component to being a woman. And the sort of continentals who have infested the new world are like, no, it's all social constructs. It's like, no, it's essential, biological.
Look at your mum.
Physical. Yeah, exactly. Anyway, to this, Charles says, this is also the story I've heard. The UK happened to have a coordination point that other Anglo nations didn't. And that coordination point, of course, is Mumsnet.
For mums. Mothers.
It's hilarious. What's
a mum?
Well, that's a great question. But anyway, so the trans discussion has taken over Mumsnet, as people have been complaining about. This is Tabitha McIntosh complaining that in reply to Hadley Freeman is telling me that mothers are more likely to be negatively affected by the rights of trans women than they are by rape. And that's why there is no point in attempting rational conversation. The rights of trans women, quote unquote, are going to explode the very category of woman. Rapes are a very rare occurrence, thank goodness.
Also, the trans rights thing causes rapes.
There is also that too. What was the name of the famous one you keep bringing up?
Karen White's the most famous
Karen
one.
White, yes.
Karen.
And so if you can scroll down to the next tweet, you can see that just searching Mumsnet gives you 4,398 results for the word rape, 2,597 results for the word harassment, 3,116 results for the word assault, and 5,918 results for trans. So what is occupying the times of the mums on Mumsnet? Well, it's the debate about trans. What is a woman? That is the main concern.
Strangely, the mums have a concern about that.
Yes. Again, because they are claiming special privileges as women and mothers from the UK government, from society in general, and the trans lobby has come along and go, yeah, but what if that also included men? And they're like, no. A lot of what I own is based on the fact that it doesn't, actually. So anyway, UK women on Mumsnet discuss transgender topics more than they do abortion, rape, harassment, and assault, significantly more. So this is clearly a pressing issue for them.
The revealed preference.
Exactly. It's a revealed preference. And mums tend to take the TERF line on feminism, as you can see by just, you can get these up just so you can see the topic list, John. You can see this like Maya Forstater tribunal going on. Do you remember she was fired for being a TERF? The Gen Ives LGB Alliance Twitter row. You got Glinner on Nolan. You can see it's all very British TERF, right? Cisgender queer women, stuff like this. Women in Scotland complain about the word cis. You can see exactly what all of this is about. But the thing is, 5 years ago, they were very pro-LGBT. Before it was apparent that the T was going to destroy, well, all of the rest, frankly, because the T with it sneaks in a redefinition of the word woman. If we can go to the next one, John, you can see that they used to be talking about things like, doing your students practice, run an LGBT group for students. Can we have all of these various things? It was very pro because it was progressive.
Well, 5 years ago, no one really focused on the T part of that sentence.
Exactly.
That alphabet there. It was all LGBT as sort of like a custom phrase, but it just really meant homosexuality.
And it really meant progressivism.
Yeah.
It meant being progressive. Because remember, 5 years ago, women were at the forefront of the progressive movement because it was women's rights that was being used to batter down men-only spaces. And, as someone who played video games, I was very aware that feminists wouldn't shut up, go away and make their own spaces.
They would always attack you with the LGBT aspect, and it's just like, that has nothing to do with what we're saying.
But the vanguard has passed through the enemy line now, and now what's arriving is the main body of the army in the form of the T lobby. And the T lobby have got some very, very strong opinions on the definition of words.
Sorry, in my head, I've got like the British people with cartons of tea.
Well, yeah, that I would prefer that. Anyway, so the thing about this is that this means that it's fine to just totally belittle women, right? This is just one random Twitter user, Rachel, who says, I'm not a mum and I don't post on Mumsnet, but I find it astonishing how many people who think they're the good guys find it okay to belittle and mock a huge community of women. It's become like Karen as a way to disparage women you don't agree with while feeling good about yourself. But the thing is, Rachel, it's not about helping women. And it never has been about helping women. It's been about promoting an ideological agenda. And the women on Mumsnet are not walking in ideological conformity to that agenda. And so they become fair game. It's not about them being women. It's about how they think. And it's always been about how people think. And so this means that Mumsnet is basically 4chan for the progressives. Let's get to the next one.
Be posting.
People have been apparently comparing Mumsnet to 4chan and calling them incels. The mums on Mumsnet are basically 4chan incels.
Did they think about that for more than 1 second?
Well, they're not making a direct definitional comparison, but they're saying, well, look, they're basically the same. They're acting because they're resisting us. They're resisting the progressive narrative. And so now the mums on Mumsnet, the incels, are now find themselves aligned in ranks against the transgender lobby. Who would have thought? Anyway, so Mumsnet is awful, apparently, according to trans activists like Natalie Felix. Mumsnet these days is less known for being a place for mums and more just a fascist hellhole that hates trans people and sex workers. That's right. Whenever I think of Mumsnet, I think of fascism. Just, do you even hear yourself, Natalie? Trans women and sex workers are mums. I think that's the point at which the definition comes in to obliterate the word woman. Trans women are mums, male people without female reproductive organs are mums, are they?
People who can't make children are mums.
People who are literally physically prevented from giving birth are mothers. I can see why Mumsnet are like, yeah, this movement's cancer and it's got to go. I can totally see why they're not down with this, and that to you makes them fascists, but that to anyone else just makes them normal, just so you know. So, I mean, if you can scroll up, I think she's got a tweet above this where she's like, trans women do discuss prams and breastfeeding. Do they?
Why?
Yeah. Do they discuss cervical smears? Like, what would be the point? Most of the trans women I know either have children or want children. Yeah, but they didn't give birth to those children, and they won't give birth to those children. Most of those who don't are also just coping with the eugenicist laws and forced sterilization we have to undergo because of transphobia.
She's talking about the surgery, right?
I don't know.
She's saying that because they undergo surgery, they're being sterilized.
Transphobia is the reason that transition surgery happens. I mean, that is true in a way, because if you do assume that it's all a social construct, then there's no need to have a surgery in order to validate yourself as a woman. And so it's only society's opinion that a woman has certain characteristics. That means you have to undergo the trans surgery. And therefore, you could say that gender transition surgery is in some way transphobic.
Which is why Natalie did it.
And now it's, and this is somehow eugenicist. So anyway, so moving on, this all ties together with a group called Women's Place UK. So we've established that the UK is Turf Island. Mm-hmm. It's controlled by Mumsnet. which is probably true, actually. And so it all ties together, as you can see with Millie Hill pointing at. This morning it was Mumsnet, and this evening it's Women's Place UK, because Women's Place UK is an activist group for British women, which is probably a bit fascist. Now I've said it like that. It's almost as if women gathering together to discuss their specific concerns is perceived as threatening in some way. How fragile this whole thing is. Well, yeah, but everything's fragile when you destroy it. But this is, as you can see, they were having a meeting in Manchester, a nice get-together where they say, could we have rights? And the trans people were like, oh, no, you don't. Not on our watch. It's the golden age of misogyny, I'm telling you. Right? So,
and decided to sit outside chanting F TERFs.
Yes,
as loud as possible.
We'll watch some clips of the protest, actually, because Stephen Knight, the godless spell checker, was there, and I consider him a reliable source because I don't think he's a lunatic. And so let's watch the protest turning up.
Scum! Get lost, trash scum! Get lost!
Trash scum off our streets!
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 A lot of beards in that protest.
TERF scum off our streets.
A lot of men.
Yeah.
Who want to go really show those women
their
who's
place.
Boss. Yeah. You're not going to be having women's rights on our watch, I'm afraid. Yeah, golden age.
Love that.
But like the thing is that it makes no particular sense though, because like protesting is something you do against governments. People with,
Well, they're the thing. It's a party rally. That's what it is.
It is.
And you can see this. I mean, we mentioned about you mentioned that the TERFs are being accused of being fascists, but this is so demonstrably the opposite, because just think of every profile picture you've seen of a British police force during Pride.
They always
think
have
of
Pride flags.
The pictures I've taken at Swindon Pride, in which you've got the little flags and all that. The flags are all in there. Which side are the British police standing on?
Yes.
Which side is every British corporation standing on?
Yes.
Which side does the British government stand on?
Well, we'll see in a minute, in
As
fact.
not the parties, but the institutions.
Yes.
The institutions all stand on one side.
So these are the foot soldiers of the institutions.
Yes, this is a party rally against
Dissidents.
Counter-revolutionaries or rightists that are mums.
Yeah. These aren't mums, but these are people obviously sympathetic to the Mumsnet cause, Women's Place UK. Although I don't doubt there's.
I imagine most of them are mums.
I was going to say I don't doubt that there's a great degree of crossover there. But anyway, so Stephen Knight attended, and like I said, I think he's a reliable source. He tweets a thread. If we can go to the next one, a nice long thread. I'm here at the Women's Place UK Manchester event this evening. Looking forward to hearing from the speakers. Sounds like a protest of undetermined size outside. I can hear them but can't see them. I'm not sure what they think is going to be said that's so egregious, but I'll let you know. As you can see, there's a few hundred, I guess. And so some quotes. High heels do not a woman make. The first speaker today talks about passing not being enough to have access to female-only spaces. I mean, being a female seems to be enough to have access to female-only spaces.
That's why it's a female-only space.
Definitionally. The next speaker is talking about the history of women's sport and the struggle for the right to compete. Well, that's over, isn't it? No.
Oh, that's funny. I never thought of it like that. Like women, we fought for ages to make our sports available and also taken seriously, and now
Then a bunch of male-bodied people took them away.
Yeah.
I mean, I am genuinely sympathetic. I think this is awful. But it's just there's a mild we told you so. You're like, oh, we're pro-LGBT, we're pro-feminism, we're pro this. 5 years ago, it's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, good luck.
Well, now you get what you deserve, don't you? But anyway, it's pointed out that all the elite female runners will be beaten by the male equivalent, which is obviously true. She talks about all the women that trans swimmer Leah Thomas is responsible for excluding by participating in female categories. Lots of angry male voices outside trying to drown out the speakers. Lots of wisdom and laughs inside. Oh, that's nice. Let's see the tone and tenor of the protest outside. Let's go to the next clip.
AP, all cops are bastard.
All cops are bastard.
Woke diversity points right there.
All cops are bastard.
But I love that the cops of diversity and tolerance are standing there while they're chanting, all cops are bastards.
they're doing it in such a British way that, frankly,
Yes.
I must admit, it does make me even cringe.
Yes.
Because like, at least coming from an American, there's some energy in the screaming.
Yep.
That was so tepid. It's just, all cops are bastards.
Yeah, the cops are on our side and who we defend institutionally. They're all
Yes.
terrible.
Their cars are literally painted in our flag. As
Yeah.
in, our party flag is on the police car.
I mean, they probably have it on their
on the
pips.
lapels.
Yeah.
It's,
Like,
okay.
it's awful. Anyway, so Stephen carries on. The protest outside probably has no idea that they're attempting to drown out the voice of Maggie Mayo, a refugee speaking about the struggle for women's rights and helping vulnerable women. Our rights are taken away from us forcefully. Well, that's what this group's about. I don't know whether you've noticed. And so you have like essentially just radicalized Americanized morons trying to drown out survivors. You have Judith Green speaking, a female survivor of child sexual abuse. She's doing her best to be heard and stay composed while the sizable crowd outside attempts to drown her out. And let's hear what they're trying to drown her out with.
UK are a place for hate. Women's place, UK are a place for hate. Women's place, UK.
Women's Place UK are a place for hate. I mean, you'd have to be mad to believe it.
No, it's bizarre logic. Like, you've got these refugees and abuse survivors having a discussion about how to defend their rights and their spaces for exactly these reasons. And then outside you have the party who have turned up with all their party flags screeching about how you're the evil ones.
Screeching about men's rights.
With their long beards.
Yeah, basically, if you don't let men into these spaces, you're full of hate. It's like, the MRA should have tried this tactic, you know? Like, it's just, but obviously, like, again, jokes aside, this is just ridiculous and they look like an absolute caricature. But look at it, there's probably about 200 of them. So anyway,
I can imagine this being a scene in a movie mocking them, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like sort of a Hot Fuzz parody.
Yeah.
You know, like it really does. Anyway, so the TERFs are getting a bit worried by this because there are a bunch of men and their supporting activists outside who are screeching. And so Stephen finishes saying, well, look, not a single thing said tonight has come close to being anti-trans. In fact, trans people were barely mentioned. Everything that has been said has been about defending women's rights and upholding the laws created to protect them. Yes, but it is in the very definition of the word woman that the hatred, the anti-transness is present. He says, I'm living in bizarro world. I'm sat among mostly middle-aged women, listening intently to other women talk about women's rights while a huge crowd outside chants about the non-existent hate happening.
Yeah, Stephen, this does happen a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, every single protest I've been to or event I've been to, which has been declared a meeting of hatred and people who hate, is just turned out to be a very diverse group of people who literally do not care about hating on protected characteristics, but instead just have some issues that have happened and want those solved.
And this is yet another one of those. And so the final chant that I think we should listen to is this one.
If the MRAs did this.
I mean, what? F women?
Yeah,
Or just F TERFs?
Well, it was the same thing back in the day, wasn't it?
Well, it is. Yeah, absolutely. But the thing is, feel like, they're a place for hate, but also F them. We want them destroyed.
Off our streets, you scum.
Yeah. And it's like,
like-
all cops are bastards. It's like, okay, look, I think the hate group is actually manifesting itself quite well.
Like, they work like the Westboro Baptist Church.
Yes.
Like, the Westboro Baptist Church would set outside with their signs and say, God hate F. And the other people, then everyone else should just be getting on with their day. Like, you've got the people getting on with their day, and then the folks outside screaming with their signs that you're
F.
scum and need to go to hell.
Yeah, it's either F gays or F TERFs. You can choose which one you want, but you're the hate group, and it's blatantly obvious. So I just thought we'd have a quick, we'd end this quickly by what the politicians think. Right, so Keir Starmer, a couple of weeks ago, had decided to open his fat mouth and say something stupid. He said that trans women are women, and he's called for a more respectful debate on transgender issues. From your own activists, is it, Keir? Because they're the ones who are being disrespectful. I don't know whether you'd noticed, unless you stand by F TERFs, which you might.
Like, how do you have a more acceptable debate if you've already said, this is the party line?
But also,
where's the debate to be had? Because I watched Labour Party conference. Like, they had this debate, or tried to.
Yeah.
And as soon as any woman got up and mentioned what women were, like, they they lost their minds.
Yeah.
Like they had speakers coming up saying, I want to censor the last speech.
Yes.
Because she said something offensive. And even the Labour Party chairman had to be like, no, we don't do that.
Well, how are the TERFs meant to be more civil? They're not the ones screeching and shouting and threatening.
No.
So what are they supposed to do? Keir, it's your own guys. That's probably an offensive word these days. Anyway, but he continued to say that we want respect and dignity for transgender people. It's like, well, maybe you should start with dignity in your own activists. And when asked to define a woman, drum roll, Keir Starmer gave a brilliant reply, brilliant in its idiocy. A woman is a female adult, and in addition to that, trans women are women. Should we pass that through? A woman is a female adult, right? So we can replace the word woman with just the words female adult.
Okay.
So trans female adults are female adults is what he has said with trans women are women, which means that male to female trans people are not trans women. By his own statement.
The only trans women are women who want to be women?
Yes. Female adults, trans female adults are female adults. Bravo, Keir. I stand by that. I completely agree with you.
Biggest of brains.
You are an idiot. You're an actual idiot. This country is run by actual idiots, right?
No, I mean it's kind of like 5D chess there. Like I know he's an idiot, but you can imagine he's been like, how do I satiate both sides? And it's like, well, I'll claim that trans women are women, but trans women are just biological women.
Like it's just sit down and be quiet, Keir, right? But the thing is, in this pressure...
Your contribution. Oh, shut up.
Yeah, exactly.
You retard.
So this carries on. Now it gets raised in Parliament and Boris has to wait. And Boris is probably, oh God, I knew this was coming for such a long time. You know, you know that Boris really doesn't want to get involved in this, right? Which is why finally Boris had to say something. And he says, quote, I think that when it comes to distinguishing between a man and a woman, the basic facts of biology remain overwhelmingly important, although the issue requires tact, love and care. Yeah, okay, gotcha. Trans women aren't women. We agree.
Thanks. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Like, this should be the end of all national and Western debate on the subject.
Yes. Keir Starmer agrees with you, incidentally, that biology is important. Adult females are adult females, and trans adult females are also adult females. So, yeah, consensus in the British upper echelons on this stupid issue.
If you appreciated that segment from the podcast The Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content we have on the site, such as the premium hangouts we do sometimes with premium members, this one on Blair's abolition of Britain and what is British. Anyway, that's me and Carl, and if you want to find out what else I'm putting out, you can follow me on Getter at @Callum on Getter. Thank you and goodbye.